Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of creditrepairshop.com. And in today's video, we're going to talk about, is there a recession coming? Is there a recession that it's not going to be a recession? Or what does a recession really have to do with you specifically? And how can you protect yourself if there is a recession? One of the things that I've learned by actually experiencing several recessions, because I'm in my 50s, so there was a recession in 1992. There was a recession. I actually started my first business, actually in 1990 it was starting to happen, but in 1990 it was going down. But I started my first business in 1990 during the times, if you look back at that time period, things were going down. And I started a business that became a very successful business during the recession. Then in the year 2000, that recession happened, and there was no effects to me or my business. But I did see effects with other people. And I'm going to speak to that in a second also. Then the 2008 recession happened. And that was the first time that I actually applied what I had learned from the other two recessions with a recession. Like, it was like, okay, everybody is scrambling and doing this at that time. Me and my wife said, we're going to do the opposite. Like, this is literally what we did. We stood in the first recession. We didn't really have any money. We were starting our business, so we were, growing. But in the 2000 recession, we had money at that time. Things were good. We just kind of sat on the sidelines. And then during the recession of 2008, we were like, no, let's invest. Let's do things to make more money. While everybody was running from stuff, investments and opportunities, we were running towards them. And our friends and family were like, are you crazy? Why would you be doing that? Like, I literally, talking about stumbling on success, I literally bought a foreclosed property that actually had a hole in the second floor. And like the property, I think I bought it for like $8,400. And it was gonna take some work. It took about $40,000 worth of work to get that property up to standard. Sold that property for $129,000. $129,000. While everybody was running away, we ran straight to, and success looked ugly. When you looked at that property, it was ugly. Like, it was like this was going to be work. But this is the lesson. This isn't about real estate or the different types. There's plenty of opportunity out there. What I learned is that most people, when things are way up, that's when they start investing. That's when they start to try to jump into opportunities. But when the time to jump into an opportunity is when things are down. That's when you get in at the lowest price. That's when you make the most money. Not to say that you can't make it when times are up, but it just starts to get a little bit tighter on how much profit you can make. A lot of competition. Everybody's trying to do the same thing. But let me also get into something that my wife and I did in the 2000 recession that we did right before. If you remember my story of what I told you, we started our business in 1990. By 1994, we're making over $100,000 a year. And you're talking about a 24-year-old, and my wife 23, I'm 24. That's a big income in the 90s for 20-year-olds. We started blowing our money, buying cars, doing all types of crazy stuff. We still managed our business, but we were just overextended ourselves. Ended up being in debt over $300,000. Christmas of 1994, my wife and I sat down at the kitchen table And we made an agreement with ourselves that we're not going to stay living this way. We figured out a solution to get out of debt. I teach about this in my videos for the credit repair shop. We laid it out because we said we're going to be bankrupt, we're going to lose our business, we're going to be divorced. All of this stuff would happen if we didn't sit down and make this agreement. And from 1994 all the way to 1999, we had to get out of that $300,000 in debt. And we did it without filing bankruptcy, and we utilized what I teach with the credit repair shop on getting out of debt, settling debt, all of that type of stuff. But one of the benefits that I didn't even think about, for 2000, is like I thought I sat on the sidelines. I didn't sit on the sideline. And I'm about to teach you exactly how you cannot sit on the sideline. And it's not talking about investing in some type of gold or some type of stock or real estate or nothing like that. I'm about to show you how you will make money in this recession if you pay attention to something that most people try to have your eyes off of. They say it, but when they say it in a global way or a national way. I want to put this straight to you so you can reap the benefits, so you can learn how you can focus on what you need to do for yourself and your family. See, one of the things that I didn't even really pay attention to when they were always talking about recession is that first you have all of these indicators, and they talk about layoffs. Let me get my red one here. They talked about layoffs, talked about credit card defaults, talked about auto repos, foreclosures, people missing payments, all of this stuff, things happening with banks. They talk about all of that stuff. But think about it. All of that is like global. All of that is like national. What does that actually have to do with you? If you boiled it all down to you and your family, what does anyone with layoffs to deal with you? And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to talk to you. Don't be like Steve. What if I get laid off or I've been laid off? I'm going to discuss that. But let me first just lay the foundation. What does credit card defaults have to do with you? What does repos have to do with you? Foreclosures and other missing payments. If this is happening to other people, what does this have to do with you? See, one of the biggest mistakes that people make, and I understand, and I'm also, don't get me wrong with this, is I have compassion for all people in all situations. But you need to understand how the human mind works. And you do this, but the problem is that you like carry the burden for a whole bunch of people when you shouldn't. And then when it comes to you, you don't even look at the burden that you have to carry for yourself. See, you can't carry everybody. But when the news has reports about foreclosures, the news has reports about credit card debt, news has reports about repos, news has reports about layoffs, you end up internalizing and carrying that burden yourself. And you start to worry, you start to have anxiety. Is this going to happen? Maybe you missed a payment. All of that stuff starts to come to you as a burden. And you start to internalize that. And what you need to do, this is what you need to do, and this is what I did, and I'm going to lay this out for you. Please listen. Don't go nowhere. This is probably one of the most important videos I've ever made about helping you with your financial situation. See, you can correct all of these. If you are experiencing any of this stuff or even more, but this is if you was to package up what makes people have financial problems, this would be the package here. Like they could just hand that to you, be like, hey, you're either all of these or within these. So what you have to do, and I drew this out like an investor in a hedge. Just in case you don't know what that is, a hedge is what investors utilize to minimize the losses on another investment. So say, for instance, they have their money in bonds or stocks or whatever. And those are seems to be going down, so they'll invest in something else that's going up and they'll hedge. So they'll be like, well, we made like I'm gonna keep the numbers low. We made like 10,000 here, but we were expecting to make 20,000, but we hedged over here with this other investment and we made $10,000. So when you put them all together, we still made our numbers. That's what they do with hedging. But I'm gonna show you, this is something I didn't even really pay attention to in 2000. But what we did is we hedged our family's financial future by doing this. Number one, because we had a business, I didn't have to worry about layoffs, but I did have to worry about crashing my business. I could have ended up losing my business. But if you find yourself in the situation where you are working for a company to hedge yourself, you better figure out a few things. You better figure out, number one, what is your position with the company, and can you be replaced? And are you being the best that you could be at your job? Because you don't want to come into work one day and your boss says, hey, you can go ahead and package up your stuff because we don't need you in that position anymore. You don't want that to happen. Now, depending on what type of job you have, this could happen to you. And I'm going to speak about something with AI in a little bit when I get to it, but this is something that can happen to you, and you need, because everything is like, if you can imagine this, everything runs downhill. Well, your job is at the top of that hill. However you generate your income is at the top of that hill, and you need to make sure that you secure yourself with your employment, your job, your business. You got to make sure of it. It is like number one. So if you like to party, you like to go out, you like to whatever you like to do, you need to put that on the shelf, and you need to reevaluate or assess yourself for where you're at with your job. I'm serious about this. Do a self-assessment. Do a self-assessment, because you can come into work, you can go to your job, and they will tell you to pack your stuff up. They will tell you to pack your stuff up. So you need to hedge yourself first by making sure that you are valuable to your company, not a liability. And let me tell you how companies work with employees. Like, a lot of people don't think about it this way. I own 4 different companies. I'm gonna tell you how the owners or the managers or the people who are in charge of, HR, all of that, this is how they look at you for your job. You're gonna work your 40 hours, and the production that you give, let's just say you make $1,000 a week at your job, $1,000 a week. The company does not survive on paying you $1,000 a week and they get $1,000 a week worth of production from you. You need to understand that really, and I can attest to this, for 40 hours a week, you better bring a minimum of $4,000, I would say $4,000 plus of value per week to the business, because the business has insurance, has tax liabilities, all types of stuff. Depending on what states, like the state that I live in, Wisconsin, we have what's called an SIU tax that is 100% paid by the business owner, no contributions at all from the employee. So you better bet that business owners are looking at this. They're running this number and these numbers and evaluating this on the employee every day. And at some point, if that business owner, that employer, feels that this production does not equal this here. Don't look at this here. You might be saying, well, this company's making millions or billions of dollars. Why would they lay off or fire or get rid of people who are barely making, $500 or $1,000 a week? This is why, because they don't feel that the production value equals out to these types of numbers. I'm just telling you the facts about it. I'm telling you the facts so you can prepare yourself, so you can hedge yourself to not be in that situation. So get that into your mind, get that into your head, that your value needs to be up. And if you're in a service position or some type of position that you're in where you might be thinking that, hey, I can't do it. Yes, you can. Every business owner values people who bring value to the business. Business owners constantly look for ways to get rid of people who don't bring value to the business, and your value does not equal what you get paid. Your value to the business has to be more, because the business is in the business of making money, not in the business of just paying you. That's the facts. Now, the next thing, credit card defaults. How do you hedge yourself from having credit card defaults? If you've already had credit card defaults, then you need to work on dealing with that credit card. But if you don't have credit card defaults, then what you need to work on is you need to work on your budgeting to deal with that situation. Because if you just think about it, if you know that you're in a situation where you're spending too much money, and you don't want to end up putting yourself into a bad financial situation, what is the best way to hedge against that problem? The way to hedge against it is to start paying down that debt and stop utilizing that credit card. Stop using that credit card. That's what me and my wife did. We stopped using all of the credit cards. Start paying it down, because it's going to pay off if we do go in a recession. Just with that, if you don't have those types of bills that are taking your money, you get paying extra with interest, you're paying more for things that you paid for because you used the credit card and you carried it over the next month. Can't you see already that you're hedging yourself against a loss? The next one is auto repo. What is your situation? At that time, my wife and I had several vehicles that were repossessed when we were going through that in the 1990s. But when those are gone, or when you focus on, hey, this is our transportation, or this is if you're a husband and wife, this is your transportation, this is his transportation, and we're going to take care of that. We're going to get that under control so we can hedge ourselves against losing our vehicles and potentially losing your job, because one of the worst things that you can do when you have a job is not be able to get to work on time. That's why you'll see in the ads, must have reliable transportation. It doesn't matter what type, but you need to have reliable transportation. You're hedging yourself against being into the people that have those recession worries. The next thing is foreclosure. During the 2008 recession, a lot of people were losing their homes. A lot of people were like, my house is underwater. What am I going to do? I owe more for the house than what it's worth. Well, let me tell you, I went through that. My home that I bought in 2004 for $352,000, during the recession, I got a value statement, and the value statement said that the house was worth $240,000. Now, me and my wife could have ran. We could have been like, we're just throwing our money down the toilet, all of this stuff. You know what everybody talks about. People ended up renting and they were paying more. Like one of the foreclosures down the street from me. Now, my mortgage payment was $2,200 with the taxes, everything. $2,200. Down the street, there was a foreclosure. There were several foreclosures in my neighborhood, and down the street, investor bought one of the properties and rented it out. He was renting out the property for $2,500 a month. So even at renting, people were going to be paying more for renting, which is 100% interest, than they would be paying if they just stayed in their home and owned it. And you don't have a landlord over your head. You could do whatever you want to do with the property, whatever. Well, years later, after the market recovered, house was valued at over $700,000, but we ended up selling the house a little bit, almost at $600,000, and that was only due to us kind of waiting, and was like, let's. The interest rates had started to increase at that time, so we were like, if we would have sold probably about 6 months earlier, we would have got more money. But here's the thing, and we had already bought another property, so we were like, let's just take our, that was a good, that was a good return on investment. Let's just sell it, walk away. But the thing about it is that look at that. Because we didn't run, because we didn't listen to what everybody else was saying, because we knew the value of our home. See, when it gets scary, everybody starts to run. Everybody starts scattering, and they don't stay focused on what they would be able to do for themselves and their family. They're just thinking about everything on a global or national level. So how we hedged ourselves big time by just, we didn't have problems paying our mortgage, but even if we did, wouldn't it be of a hedge to, number one, fix that problem so you can keep your home, and then number two, a hedge to keep your property, because that ended up being a huge return on investment, a huge return on investment. Now, the next thing that people always worry about, they're just saying when they hear the stuff with recession, is that news reports will come out and they'll say stuff like, payments are being missed with these installment type places, like maybe furniture store cards, department store card defaults are up. They'll throw all of that stuff into the mix, and it'll get people scared, even though it has nothing to do with their situation. What they're doing is they're internalizing that problem, and if they have any type of financial issues, then they're like, well, everybody's having that problem. I'll just jump into that bucket and I'll just start missing payment. People actually start doing that. People, they don't say misery loves company just to say it. Misery loves company because it makes it easier for people to jump in there and be miserable with everybody else that's miserable. What the hard thing for you to do, the hard thing for us to do, is to not go there and to self-evaluate our specific situation and put together a plan that works best for ourselves and our family and our finances. That's what most people don't do. And they say it on the news like it's a secondhand thing. They scare you up, but they talk about, you need to get your finances in order and all that stuff. But they never break that down for how people need to be thinking about it to do it. See, I could give you all of the instructions on, hey, if you got a $5,000 worth of debt and you make, worth of payments every month, and you only make $5,000, net income at your home, then you got to start slashing and cutting and all of that stuff. That's elementary. That's easy. If it was that easy, then there wouldn't be people with financial problems. See, the reason why people have financial problems is because of the thought process, because of the fear, because people don't really know how to manage the anxiety. They don't know how to manage if they're in a depressed state. They don't know how to manage getting out of one state of mind and moving over into a positive state of mind. That's where all of the problems are. When I make my videos, I always try to kind of throw a little bit of that in, because it's not just about giving you instruction. If it was about giving instruction, the whole world would be successful. The whole world. There's plenty of people go to college, plenty of people watch books, go to seminars, go to financial classes, all of that stuff. If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. What is not easy is right here, the mental side of it, because you're going to have one part of you pulling you, making you not want to do it because you haven't been doing it, because you want something that's easy. You don't want to have to think about doing something that's new, because when you think about doing something that's new, you have to use brain power. You have to use energy. And when you use that energy, you get tired. And then you start focusing on something else. Maybe you pick up your phone and start looking at one of the social media accounts. I do this type of stuff. I catch myself. So I have to refocus, self-evaluate, and say, what is the goal that I want to accomplish? And I need to put away all of that other stuff and do it. And that's what you need to do. If you don't want to find yourself in this situation, you need to hedge yourself on all of this. This here, the instruction is easy, but the mental part of it is going to be hard for you. I'm going to be upfront with you. And if you are married or you have a spouse, significant other, it's going to even be double as tough, because you got to get them on the board, or they got to get you on board. Maybe you're the one that's spending the money. Maybe you're the one that's not listening and doing stuff. But it's rarely that way. With couples, it's usually you spend something, I'm going to spend something. That's basically how it works. That's what we went through when we had to kind of change our habits, is that I had noticed that she was getting something. I was like, I got to get me something. Or the kids got to get something. All three kids got to get something. Can't move forward with that type of thinking. You got to change that thinking. Now, let's talk a little bit about AI. This is serious. This is serious. I was introduced to my first AI product, I would say about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And let me tell you something, what it's done. And my companies utilize AI. And the strange thing about it is that people be thinking, people think that AI cannot replace them. And I'm here to tell you that AI is only built. I don't care what anybody tells you. If you watch my videos, you trust me. You trust me. Years down the line, you will say, Steve told me. AI is to replace employees. Don't be fooled. Don't think that they're just doing it to enhance and all of that stuff. AI is built to replace employees. The reason why it's built to replace employees is not probably the way that you might be thinking. You might be thinking that AI is built because it's going to cost the employer less money to utilize AI than it would cost for an individual. No. There's a few reasons why AI is going to replace a lot of workers. AI is number one. This is how a business owner is thinking with AI. AI is just like a human. If you get it set up the right way, it's like a human that'll do the exact same thing that a human would do, but it won't bring an attitude. It won't bring where they won't. I won't say that they won't get sick, because equipment can break down. There's been several times where the AI that I utilize in one of my businesses, where like it would be down for like 1 hour. But AI is not going to come to work with an attitude. AI is going to show up to work on time every day. An AI is going to do exactly what it's programmed to do every day, without an attitude, without getting sick, without all of the things that a human being would bring to the table. but there's still another side that an AI cannot bring, and that's what I just talked to you about, is that the AI can never replace the value of a human being, can never replace the value of a human being. I'm telling you this from personal experience of utilizing AI, and that what gets my attention, what really gets my attention, is that if production is not performed on a level that I expect, I look at replacing it with AI, not because I want to get rid of someone, it's because I believe that either that individual or that position will not be able to sustain itself in a productive manner unless there's something that needs to, unless something is put in its place. And for me, the way I look at business is I don't like, the only time I utilize AI is for repetitive type things. I don't like, I want people. My wife talks about it all the time. I have offices and I like going around and I like seeing people work. I like seeing people able to support their family, like what my wife and I have built for our companies. People, they buy homes, they buy cars, they send their kids to college. They do all of this type of stuff off of what we had built. But I could tell you that the things that we are bombarded with certain companies, I won't mention which one, but certain ones, is that we are bombarded with, and we have to always remind employees about production. Like if you're ever worried about if you can get replaced or you can get fired, or your position can get, where they just do away with your position, all you have to do is evaluate your production. What is your production level? And you need to throw it. In the past, it was just your level of production, but now you need to worry about, can your production be replaced by AI? Now, if you know, even if your production level is high, can it be replaced by AI? And don't you need to start thinking about hedging yourself? Or let's take that away. For you need to think about how you hedge yourself. For let me give you an example. Here's an example. I have an investment in this company. It's security, and what caught my attention is that it utilizes machines to do the security around buildings and stuff. And when they did their presentation, though, they had said that this is AI equipment. It's more than just a machine, traveling around. And I had noticed too. They were like, these are going to replace some police officers, and I was like, and when I saw that, I was like thinking it was two thoughts came to my mind with the issues that we have with police, with some police. I could see people jumping on board with that. City saying, "Hey, for every officer that's messing up, replace them with one of these." And you're like, well, how will that even work? When you see how when you start seeing this around the markets, you're going to be like, okay, I see how that works, how that will work, how it will replace police officers, and in some instances, how it could actually help, especially from what had happened with the schools. The next thing, I was like, it's actually like providing a different type of benefit for businesses that don't want to have a security guard put there. Like so I could see that this here, they're actually feeding the need. So just imagine if you had one of these robots, like you had an office building and you wanted to protect your building, and this robot would just go around and scan and make sure everything was okay. And then if anyone was to come in as an, was to try to break in, they would actually send out warnings. And actually, one of them could demonstrate that it could actually, protect the facility. Like, I mean, like this is like RoboCop in a way. So, like, you could see how AI can replace certain jobs just regardless, like that it could actually uh replace it regardless. So you need to really evaluate your situation on where you're working, because there could become a day where, regardless of your production, regardless of what you're doing, that you're going to need to think about maybe changing into doing something else, because AI, these companies are, utilizing AI, and if there's any reason or any way that it can replace an employee, I would hedge on that they would be looking at doing it. They're already doing it with Amazon. They're already doing it with I think with some of the software companies. Like this is a really serious deal that's going on with that. All right, so if you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, What Makes Us Different, so you can see my 8-point validation process, my two-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website, your3scores.com. Grab your TransUnion, Equifax, Experian credit reports and all 3 scores, and it has all of the information that you'll need to utilize to repair your credit. If you have debt collectors coming after you, grab my 3-pack of letters: statute of limitations, cease and desist collection activities letter, and debt validation letter. Those can stop debt collectors early. Statute of limitations, that letter will stop a debt collector who is trying to collect on a debt that is past legal statute of limitations to collect. And you can go to my website, thecreditrepairshop.com, to check out the statute of limitations for all 50 states. Just go to the blog. It's at the bottom. Click that, type in statute. You'll see the statute of limitations for all 50 states. I do ask for a donation with those, but it's well worth it, because if you have a debt collector coming after you for hundreds or thousands of dollars, and you can utilize this over and over again for different debts and debt collectors, it's worth it. Thank you for your time. Please subscribe to the channel, post your questions and comments,